Hello, sports fans, and welcome to another edition of Scott Sports 101. I'm Scott Trella. We're going to talk Browns and NFL news. We'll talk some Cavs news and some NBA news. We'll talk some traveling Major League Baseball news, a little bit of NHL. And before we get to any of that, here is today's Scott Sports 101 trivia question. Hitting 406 in 1941, who was Major League Baseball's last 400 hitter? I'm going to have the answer later on the podcast. Turning to Browns news now. The Cleveland Browns are deep at wide receiver, and they went out and signed two undrafted free agents to an already talented position. Both of these players are not going to make the team, but below we dive in to see if Ragin' Cajun product, Jamarcus Bradley, is the chosen one if Cleveland does decide to keep UDFA wideout. Now, Jamarcus Bradley is a wide receiver, and he's 6 feet tall, and he weighs 198 pounds. Strength's another prospect that likely should have been drafted, but Bradley was seen as a late round target by most analysts. He had an extremely productive college career, statistically speaking, especially the last two seasons. Bradley had a very impressive East-West Shrine Bowl week and was expected to explode during Pro Day before the pandemic hit. He still held a virtual workout and reportedly ran a blazing 4.4 40-yard dash. Now, his weaknesses, I think a big reason why Bradley didn't hear his name called on draft night was due to him not meeting his expectations this past season. Although there was no dip in production, Bradley actually hauled in in 20 more receptions. He had a lower yards per reception average and same amount of touchdowns, and he didn't dominate the Sun Belt like many expected him to, based off his 2018 film. Overall, Bradley is talented enough to make an NFL as he is an NFL roster as he is a good enough receiver to provide depth when needed and could be a grateful special teams contributor. It is hard to predict whether or not Bradley can make the Cleveland roster because they are so talented at the position, but would not be surprising to see. It would not be surprising to see him hang around at least the practice squad. He does not appear to be more talented of the undrafted receiver duo. And turning to other NFL news, and this is a little bit more Browns news before we get to some NFL news. Myles Garrett is in negotiations with the Browns, so on a contract extension possibly, and it could be a good thing or it may be a mistake. But I feel that if they do, I feel it should be 20 to 21 million in that ballpark. But then again, it could be a mistake, and it would be a mistake to offer him a $50 million contract. But they could come up with a good enough negotiation to extend his contract. But I'm going to keep you updated on this developing story because anything can happen. So stay tuned. I will have more when it becomes available. NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell says in NFL News today that it's time for Colin Kaepernick to make his comeback and for NFL teams to sign him. Now, I agree with that, and I think an NFL team needs to sign Colin Kaepernick. And if not as a starter, he could be used as a backup quarterback. And I feel that Roger Goodell has the right idea that it's time for Colin Kaepernick to really make his comeback and be back in the NFL because he really needs to. He wants to get back into really being the quarterback that he wants to be, and I really think he has the potential to produce and really put up a lot of big numbers. So I'll keep you updated on this developing story. Uh, Turning now to the Cavs, very little went right for the Cavs this season. Their bold and risky but celebrated hire of John Beilein turned out to be an egregious mistake. Beilein lasted just 54 games before calling it quits and, and swept up in a wave of controversy. Darius Garland, the number 5 pick in the 2019 NBA draft and supposed headliner and of the three-player class expected to lead a franchise rebirth, was not only the worst rookie, but the league's lowest-rated player, statistically showing minimal flickers of star potential. Kevin Love is in hope of reviving his value after a miserable injury-wrecked 2018-2019 season quickly vanished, with the five-time All-Star growing frustrated and unhappy, even wanting to be traded. And it would not surprise me if Kevin Love would be traded, but we'll have to wait and see on that, and I'll keep you updated on that. Rookie Dylan Windler suffered what was thought to be a minor setback ahead of training camp that eventually led to a season-ending ending surgery on his lower left leg. It was a lost year for Windler, the sharpshooter picked in the first round to challenge C.D. Osman for the starting small forward spot. And the Cavs finished with one of the league's worst records, unable to even stay competitive many nights during the Beilein era. But believe it or not, it all needed to happen because it led the Cavs to where they are now. No matter how they arrived, each detour played part in the most critical event of the restoration, a move that should deliver optimism for the future, and that is J.B. Bickerstaff being named the new Cavs head coach. Coaches have to be able to relate to players. Players have to feel comfortable in being able to talk to them. He can read people, can read energy, and is good with personality. That's how the NBA is. The coaches that are successful in our league are the coaches who know how to relate to the players. If they don't have player relationship, they are usually one smart-ass coach. Tristan Thompson said shortly after Bickerstaff took over, guys like JB, guys like Tyronn Lue, and Doc Edwards, those guys know how to deal with players, talk to players, and have a relationship. Even Steve Kerr, those guys know that's what the league is, and it's changing each and every day, and it really is. Cleveland's daunting rebuild, forced again by LeBron James' free agency departure, began with Lue as head coach, a skillful leader who helped the Cavs dethrone the Golden State Warriors in 2016. Lue was the ideal fit for a championship contender, and just not for this particular undertaking. When general manager Koby Altman fired Lue 6 games into the 2018-2019 season, associate head coach Larry Drew stepped in. The Cavs could have stayed with him long term, learning some semblance of stability. Instead, they went a different direction, conducting a vast coaching search that led to Beeline believing his background as a teacher, culture driver, and developer were perfect for this situation. On February 19th, 9 months after leaving the University of Michigan, Beeline stepped down, making Bickerstaff the fourth Cavs head coach in less than 2 years. And while it's certainly not ideal to have that much turnover, and it's fair to critique the front office for its shoddy results thus far, so much of this season was about answering questions: what works, what doesn't, who will be here, who won't, what does the team have? Does the team have? What's still needed? Will the Cavs uh, the Cavs have their coach? That's one from answer, an important one. Now they can focus on the rest. Now, this is time when connectivity, uh, relatability, honesty, and empathy are paramount. Word choice matters. Not saying thugs when you really mean slugs. It's hard to know for certain how things would have been with Beeline during this unprecedented time, but in the first few months of his brief tenure, were any indication, the word disastrous quickly comes to mind, and that is exactly the word, and I agree wholeheartedly on that. Players turned him out because of penchant for his penchant for screaming. They believed he was treating them as young college athletes instead of professionals. His age, now 67, led to a wide communication gap. He couldn't build meaningful relationships. Bickerstaff, on the other hand, has a unique gift for making those around him feel at ease, and even the most uh, uh, chaotic situations, like a pandemic or a state of unrest caused by systematic racism. He talks to you like peers on the same level. And then from there, you build a level of respect and friendship. Larry Nance Jr. told Cleveland.com. JB has done a good job of balancing friend slash coach role. He is very easy to talk to. When Bickerstaff took over, his focus was on continued player development, instilling a culture of toughness, togetherness, and accountability, and fixing a woeful defense. There was no way of knowing that weeks later he would be discussing COVID-19 and racial tensions that hit close to home. Bickerstaff can't call anyone for his hand advice on navigating this. There's no book to read. He's writing one as he goes, crafting a masterpiece. It's all about people and making sure that people are okay and they have everything that they need. Bickerstaff said, and obviously that has moved on. Uh, but as of March 11th, when things were up in the air and we didn't know what to expect, the most important thing was that our players and our coaching staff, from a personal standpoint, had everything they needed. That was the only thing that mattered. Uh, there are extremely different times and something I've never experienced before. You have to trust yourself and trust your gut and figure out a way to put people first and put people before yourself and keep managing that way. We are a team. The most important thing is each other, and that is very true wholeheartedly. Uh, and when the NBA went on hiatus because of coronavirus, Bickerstaff made sure to stay in touch with players through team Zoom calls, FaceTime, and text messages. As society returned to some sense of normalcy, he randomly showed up in parking lots to have that human face-to-face interaction with players. And I will be back to finish this news in just a moment.